Welcome to our How to Podcast series, Podcasting for Profit 5-part Masterclass. The goal? To help you turn your passion for your podcast into a profitable venture. In this mini-series, we'll review the key strategies and tactics to boost your podcast's financial success. From building a strong foundation to future-proofing your income, we've got it all. So, whether you're a seasoned podcaster or just starting out, get ready to unlock the secrets to podcasting prosperity. Let's dive into episode 5, Future-Proofing Your Podcast for Ongoing Revenue.
Okay, we are going to talk about that. We are. We are done. This is it. This is the last of the 5 episodes around profit with your podcast. And I'm excited because we're going to talk about a little bit of the future. Ooh, the future. Boldly go where no one's gone before. Hey, Doc. You know, all that stuff. It's a DeLorean. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. We're going into the future and planning out our podcast for future growth around monetization and making money with your show. Okay, so recap. We've talked about building community. We talked about affiliate marketing. We've talked about all of these great tips and ideas. And if you've been an action taker, you are, right? Of course you are. You have already done the tasks to date with the last 4 episodes. So you should be well on your way to setting the groundwork, the foundation to make money with your show. And you're welcome. Because I'm doing the same thing at the same time that you are, and I'm pleased and grateful for every donation that comes into the podcast. It means that I can continue to do this. And here's an update for you. So I've been working nights for the last 3 years during the pandemic, blah, 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 working night shift. I'm away from my wife. I would rather be home in the evenings and not working a reverse opposite shift of my wife. Sucks. And so I come home, she jumps in the car, she goes to work. She comes home, I get up, I get in the car, I go to work. So we're great. We're down to 1 car, which is awesome. We're saving some money there, but we never see each other. We never get to go anywhere, do anything. Even just going out for dinner is a chore. So last night, one of the benefits of working nights is I just work on my own. I have free Wi-Fi, and I can listen to podcasts and music and all that. So I love it because I'm on my own. I'm my happy place. I can just do my thing, and nobody talks to me. It's great. It's awesome. Until last night, when our boss pulls us into a meeting, everybody gather around. No more earbuds are allowed on the property during your shift. No more earbuds. No more listening to music or whatever you guys listen to. And that sucks because I listen to so many amazing shows. I listen to your shows. When you tell me about your podcast, I like to go listen. And I can listen to a lot of podcasts in one shift. And now that's probably the only thing that keeps me going back to work because the work is mind-numbing. It is very low pay, just enough to help us at home to keep going. So here's what's happening. I've been working my way towards working my way away from that job. I want to be home with my family. I don't want to be working night shift. If you work night shift for any length of time, God bless you. It sucks. I've been working nights now 3 years here, but then 9 years, a while back, I worked 9 years straight on nights. My doctor told me it wasn't a great idea. He's like, you need to have a regular sleep schedule and eat properly and all that good stuff. So I'm working my way now with this renewed vigor because I can no longer listen to podcasts. So somebody took away my joy last night, and I'm not happy about it. So that actually makes sense. You take away your joy, you would not technically be happy anymore. Right. So I am eagerly moving forward now with more passion and more steam ahead to get off nights completely. So whether that's going down from 5 shifts to 4, or even 3, even 2 shifts a week, and really leveraging my podcasts, all 7 of them, also my editing background, website design, consultation, group events. I'm going all in on this. And for you as a community member, this is also thanks to you for your support to date. Again, I so appreciate all those who support the podcast through all of the means we've talked about in the last 5 episodes, through my Buy Me a Coffee, through my TeePublic, through all of the great things that you're doing to help support me. I can now make the transition away from a very terrible job into what I'd rather do more of, and that's spend time with you. So I truly appreciate anybody that can support me with any of your donations through howtopodcast.ca, and I truly appreciate you. So the timing for this 5-episode series is very, very appropriate for me personally, and I'm looking forward to see what happens as we end off this calendar year of 2023 and move into next year. Excited to see what's next for you, for myself, for my podcasts, my little editing business, all of that stuff. So if you need an editor for your podcast and you'd like to hire somebody, you can go to Fiverr and Upworks and hire a stranger, or you can hire your friend Dave here, and I will work with you on your show and make you sound awesome. So awesome that you'll be so proud of it. So I will work hard for you. howtopodcast.ca. Let me know. And as well, on my howtopodcast.ca website, there's an option for Buy Me a Coffee, which I appreciate. And there's also an option for a consultation where you can have time with me one-on-one. And for a fee, you can have a special calendar link just for a consultation. And you and I will get together, talk about your show, talk about starting your show, growing your show. I'm all yours for that whole time. And it's a 40 minutes together in my calendar. And I promise to bring value for you. I promise to show up ready to talk with you. And I really look forward to working with you one-on-one. So that's available on my website as well. There's meetups. There's all kinds of great stuff happening. And I would love to have you part of this. Doesn't matter where you live in the world. I would love to work with you. Okay? Okay. So that out of the way. Today we're looking at the last part of our series around profiting with your podcast. And we're talking about future-proofing your podcast for ongoing sustainable revenue. Okay? Into the future and beyond. Okay? There's a few things we want to talk about here. Some suggestions for you. Now, some of these, behind the scenes, some of these things I haven't even started yet. So I am listening to myself in this episode and learning from myself, which is quite weird when you think of it. So I'm actually talking to myself, and you get to listen. So I might need some help, but there we go. So one of the things right off the bat that I would put out for you and for me as well is to look at building a strong email list. Why is this important? Several reasons. One, you have communication on an ongoing basis directly with your community, not through an app, not through Facebook groups, not through Instagram DMs, anywhere where you have to log in to be on someone else's platform. You don't own that space. You don't. If Facebook decided to no longer be Facebook tomorrow, you have no say in the matter. If Instagram decides to go to a paid model and you have to pay to get in, you have no choice. If Twitter, X, Twix, whatever you want to call it, decides to do whatever it does, you have no choice. All of these things, all these apps, all of these social media platforms, you have no say in anything to do with what they do. So why build your kingdom on rented land? Not a good idea. have a presence there, be part of the community, but don't build your world on someone else's yard, someone else's land. Don't do it. It's a bad idea. By having an email list, you own that communication. It's you one-on-one with your guest, with your audience, with your community. You own that. No one else can step in between there. So by building a strong email list, you open the door to communication. Another thing is you can, in the future, when you do have a sponsor that you're entertaining or is interested in you, you can let them know you have an active and growing email list, which you can then also promote their products, not just in the podcast, by telling your world about the product you're endorsing and being paid to endorse on your show. You can also put it in your email news list. And you can also put it on your social media. So by building your strong email list, you get to develop and maintain that email communication, that back and forth, and let your audience know about all the great things coming in the podcast, as well as links to things that benefit your audience. So start building a strong email list. How do you do that? Depending on what your podcast is about, it's simply as asking, first of all. Again, you do not have if you do not ask. So you can ask for people to sign up with their emails through your website. You can go with programs like MailChimp and all those things, and you can create an email list that way. You can do it just manually through Google, for example, whatever. But start capturing your email list if you're a host of an interview podcast. All of those emails that are used to set up time in your calendar, you've got an email list. Okay? So you can start with that. That's a great place to start. Anytime somebody interacts with you through email, a listener, a guest, as I mentioned, any of that interaction, make sure you have a way of capturing those emails into some way to keep track of them. Okay? Do that right away. Start doing that now. If you haven't done it, you haven't even started, start now. Okay? That's part of your homework today. Another thing is you need to adapt to what's happening in the podcast industry. Now, how do you even know how to stay in touch with this? Now, for those of us that teach podcasts about podcasting, we listen to many different leaders in the space. So we're learning at the same time. And then coming back to you with things that we're doing, things we're learning or putting into place that may benefit you on your journey. One of my resources that I use is Pod News. Pod News is great. I love listening to how they describe what's happening in the industry from a global perspective, not just a U.S. perspective, where a lot of information comes out of a U.S. and it's U.S.-centric. I like the fact that they include other countries as well. So Pod News, great place. A link, and again, in the show notes for Pod News. I like listening to their podcast. You can sign up to their email newsletter. There you go, email. And that's one way to stay up to date. And the last thing, too, is just to establish a very diversified monetization portfolio. We talked about Buy Me Coffee, TeePublic, all these other things. But always explore and implement new income streams to ensure long-term financial stability. One thing I'm hearing about in the podcast space is podcasting 2.0, which is they have a term called value for value, where I, as a podcast host, I create value for you as a listener by showing up, delivering great content, building community, connecting you with others. I'm here providing value to you, and I'm hoping for and encouraging value to come back to me from you as a listener. So there's a value to value exchange happening here, where something is being offered and something is being given back. That's the idea. So they're trying to do an updated version of our podcasts so that you can donate to a podcast, and you can do this in a way through the extremely complicated and very overwhelming world of crypto and all of that stuff. And if I just said a word that made you go, ugh, then I'm sorry. I haven't done any of this, just so you know. I've never played in the space. I know very little about it. And it was going to take me a while to even get my head wrapped around this. It's pretty early stages for this, but people are using it. So just so you know. But what can happen is during the podcast, if, for say, you did a live podcast with a live audience, you could have people send you a message, and then they can attach a very super small amount of money to their message as a way of getting your attention. And so you get a message from your listener, and they give you a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a penny for their message to you. So where I say that I've made $500 from Buy Me a Coffee in 6 months, this new method of value for value, podcasting 2.0, that's going to take you a considerable amount of time to make $500 the way it's currently set up and the amount of people who are using it. It's going to take a while. So the other thing you can do within this as well is you can actually stream very tiny payments to the host while you listen to the show. Just listening. You have a wallet. You fill up your wallet full of internet money, let's call it. And while you're listening to a podcast, a small amount is added to the host, to their wallet online as you listen to the show. Again, super early days. If you're ever interested, just go online, type podcasting 2.0, podcasting 2.0, or value for value podcasting. There's podcasts about this out there. It is super nerdy. And if you love super nerdy, go for it. And then come on the show and explain it to me, please. But that is something that's happening. So again, looking far into the future, there may be a way for you to be paid while you podcast. What's also kind of cool is they have music podcasts. I have the Add to My Playlist podcast on Spotify. But there's a way now where you can actually take that money I talked about, the internet money that comes to you while people listen to your show. And if you do a segment on your show about a certain song, that during the segment, when you're talking about that, a portion of what comes in gets split between you as the host and then the musician that you're featuring. So the musician can actually make money from having their music played and discussed within a podcast as people donate to the show through internet money. So, wow. So where artists typically to date go on all these streaming sites and they make very little money for a listen, they can now make direct money. Once they do all the back-end work to get this all set up, they can actually get paid every time their song is played. And it opens the door for music podcasters to have access to music as more and more artists embrace the idea of making money on the internet through all these new podcasting 2.0 stuff. So again, if you're interested in that, I would love for you to learn it and then teach me, because I would love to know more about this. But it's going to take me a while to even get my head wrapped around how to do all this. But the idea is, even as uncomfortable as I am in learning this new language, this new thing, I want you to understand that if we're going to work towards the future, there's going to be things down the road that are going to make us uncomfortable, that are going to challenge us to grow. And even if this series of 5 episodes challenged you, in even just the sense that if you do not ask, it's not going to happen, right? You have to ask. You have to get out there in front of your audience and tell them what you need and what your podcast needs. So some action steps as we close off episode 5 of our series. Start building that email list today by offering incentives to your listeners to subscribe, maybe a resource, a download, some exclusive content, maybe access to you. Keep yourself informed about the latest in podcasting industry news and developments, and adapt your approach accordingly. And lastly, as we close off, regularly assess and experiment with new revenue opportunities to keep your podcast growing and financially stable for the long term. So that was the ideas that I've been having around podcast monetization. A lot of this I don't hear from gurus in podcasting. They seem to jump right to ads, getting sponsors, and making money that way. And for a new podcaster with 10 listens, you're not ready. Your audience isn't ready. You've been podcasting for a month and you have no community. You have no interaction. You haven't heard the voice of your listener yet. You haven't had an email yet. No one's ever clicked a link on anything you promoted. It's still early days for you. And I want you not to be frustrated by that. I want you to be challenged by that and encouraged that you're going to build something awesome. It's going to take time, and anything good takes time. Remember that. So I need you to start with these action steps. Go back and listen to these 5 episodes again. Go back and look over your homework that you've downloaded from howtopodcast.ca and make sure you've done the steps we've talked about. And after the end of this 5 episodes, if you have questions for me, reach out to me. Calendar links on my website. Reach out to me. Let's make some time together. And let's go over what we've discussed here. Let's look at your show. Let's see how we can make this happen for you. Because even if you made money to put gas in the car, I think that would be enough to get you excited about what the possibilities are for your podcast. So let's make this happen. Okay? You and I. Let's make this happen. howtopodcast.ca. And I would love for you to go there. Again, check out my Buy Me a Coffee links. Check out my Tea Public Store. All of those great things. And follow my lead and try some of these things yourself. And then let me know how it's going. And share the links with me so we can share it with the audience. As a family here, we want to support you. We want to support each other. And I'm asking you to today go to howtopodcast.ca and continue to enjoy the rest of the episodes for Na Pod Pomo here in November, with an episode every day for the entire month of November. I love doing it for you. I love being a part of your community, and I'm so proud to have you part of this community. Keep podcasting. Don't stop. And let's go make some money for your show. You deserve to make money for your show. Even a small amount. You deserve it. So make it happen. You do not have because you do not ask. Take care.
Well, that's a wrap for this episode of the Podcasting for Profit, a 5-part masterclass. We hope you found today's insights valuable and are ready to take your podcast to the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share this 5-episode series with a fellow podcaster that is considering how to make money with their podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review to help others discover this podcast. If you have any questions or feedback, reach out to us on our website, howtopodcast.ca. If you have found value in this episode, please consider donating to the show via our Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes or on our website, howtopodcast.ca. Keep podcasting.